Hello and welcome to Old School Episode 4. It is May 22nd, 2026. My name is Daniel Bader.
And my name is Stephen Rodoshi. Is it 4 or 5? I think you nailed the date, but I think it might be 5. Yeah.
That's right.
No, leave it in. Sorry, that's it. This is real. We give you the real. This is what two old people do.
Me and Jeff Probst, we're doing it live.
I saw that.
See that.
I'm not a Survivor watcher, so I don't have any idea what was going on, but I did think that was pretty hilarious.
What I think is interesting is that they wanted to go between recorded footage and live footage in real time.
It's bold. Bold strategy. Doing it live.
And then the corpse of Jeff Probst just like could not keep track of what was going on.
I mean, that's got to be. I was thinking today about how much this guy's going to be. Job for life, right? Been doing it 25 years, 50 seasons of this. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. What was the other show? The Dancing with the Stars guy. Another one. Like, I mean, it's got to be kind of low effort. They're probably not putting as much in as maybe like Pat Sajak or something like that. I just got to imagine that that's probably one of the best gigs in entertainment.
I mean, he goes to Fiji twice a year now.
Yeah.
Like, the guy lives basically in Fiji.
Right, because they don't go anywhere anymore, right? They used to go to different places.
They had a few seasons where they did.
And now it's just one spot.
Just like the same place.
Unbelievable.
He's probably got a resort there where he can just go home at night.
Yeah. He's
What a
probably like
gig.
Jim Nance for golf. He lives on Pebble Beach.
He goes to his cryogenic freezer after the show, and he gets up in the morning refreshed.
But I thought
drinks his peptides, and he's ready to go.
Oh, the peptides, I don't know. But I could have swore that you would have been a Survivor guy, given your intense consumption of reality television. That never really.
And my love of Lost. Like, the two things they overlap. The Venn diagram is complete. No, I liked the first season or two, but I don't think I've watched it since like the early aughts.
That was it. That was probably the last time I paid attention. With like one guy that dodged his taxes, won $1 million, and it didn't pay his taxes or something like that. That's the last I heard of it.
I remember loving. I mean, poor Amazing Race guy. You know, like everybody, like the Amazing Race and Survivor basically started of a piece. But nobody knows the Amazing Race guy's name, and he's the one doing all the work. He's traveling the world. He's running. He's like nobody knows the guy's. I mean, he's like this blank slate. Like, he could just be anybody. You could replace him every season, and nobody would remember him.
Right. Yeah. American Idol, same thing. Kelly Clarkson, I know. Some of the other ones after that, but then that's it. Forget it.
Honestly, I just assume Ryan Seacrest still does everything there.
Oh, 100%. He does everything. Period. Ended. Another guy. I don't know how you get that many.
Ageless.
He and
Jeff Probst are sharing the same bottle of GLP-1 peptide.
Who got the Wheel of Fortune gig? Was it him too?
Not sure.
I got to check, but I heard he was in the running. I'm like, how many things are you going to do?
I know Howie Mandel got the evening Price is Right gig.
Did he? Okay, good for him.
Price is Right Tonight, which is a thing.
Good for him.
One of our best exports. Howie Mandel.
I watch with my uncle. My uncle likes to watch the older Price is Rights. There's the Game Show Network or whatever. You can watch the older ones from like the 80s and 90s. Older vintage Bob Barker was mean. Bob Barker in the 80s had a streak, and it was hilarious. When somebody would mess up or something, like get a price completely wrong, he just dug into him, and it was phenomenal.
I mean, there's a reason he was on Happy Gilmore. Like, come on.
That was him.
The guy was
him. Wasn't
perfect.
Yeah.
He was so smart and so acerbic and just like perfect. Drew Carey he was too goofy.
Yeah, too goofy. Nothing really there. I never could get into those. It never bit me. Howie Mandel's got a little of that in him. I could see him pulling that off.
I don't know. As a Canadian, I'm just embarrassed to know him. Like, he's just not a guy that I've heard so many stories about how demanding he is.
Well, the
in
OCD.
his various. Well, that's true. I don't want to disparage that. Like, I don't want to disparage him. It's an illness, but like it has. I have heard manifested into him just being like a complete asshole to people.
Okay,
but who knows? I mean,
listen,
it could
I
be
believe it.
Page 6 stuff.
I believe it.
The other news in reality TV that is just bizarre to me. Do you remember in like after Alex Trebek passed away?
Sure.
And there were those like series of guest hosts.
Yeah, like 7 of them. Right.
7. Yeah, and like now we have Ken Jennings as the permanent host.
Ken Jennings is another one that doesn't do it for me. After Alex Trebek.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could do what Trebek did.
No.
Again, like Bob Barker-esque.
Right.
He's
that old
he's
school.
got
Right.
he's got an edge to him that no
Right.
other hosts have ever had. Maybe,
Right.
honestly, Mike Richards seemed like he might have, but for different reasons. But Ken Jennings is just
edge.
not. He's too nice.
Too nice. That same Drew Carey's problem. Too nice. You got to give it to him a little bit. Like, come on.
When you're talking to some of the smartest, most awkward people in the world,
knock him down a peg.
Totally. Just make them feel like crap all the time.
That's what I want to watch because I'm dope over here. I want to see them be a little dopey and get knocked down for it. I don't know what we were a kid, but that used to be the appointment television at night. When I got home from school, you'd have Wheel at 7. You'd have Jeopardy at 7:30.
Yeah.
If you're home during the day, it was Price is Right. Then you had a little Family Feud, Ray Combs.
And then The View. You get right into The View. You hang out with Joy and Whoopi
time, but a
little bit. Like when you're sick,
yeah.
You have your orange juice. You've got some, whatever happening. Parents are home taking care of you. You're under a blanket.
When I was, we're the same. I think that was before The View for me. But to bring it back, Howie Mandel's daytime show.
Yes,
was on at the time.
Look, there was like Jerry Springer.
Oh, Jerry
Springer. There was Maury
yes.
Povich. Like all those terrible shows. Ricky Lake.
That's right.
There were plenty of ways to fill your time.
Oprah, before she was Oprah, she became this whatever, but she was doing Jerry Springer stuff to start.
Sort of.
Some of it.
Like the Dr. Phil stuff was definitely
later
Jerry Springer-esque, but I think her core show was always pretty good.
Right.
Maybe not. I remember Tom Cruise on her chair. I remember.
This is way before that.
Remember James Frey and the Million Little Pieces scandal?
No.
This writer who became famous because Oprah selected his book, A Million Little Pieces, as part of the book club. And it turns out this memoir was faked. He made it up. He just made it up. And he should have written it as a novel, but it never would have gotten as big if it was a novel.
No one would have cared. Right, yeah.
So he wrote it as a memoir, and then it came out later that he fabricated all these stories.
Unbelievable.
And he had to go back onto Oprah to apologize. Look it up. It's famous.
You get two hits. Unbelievable. That's what I like growing up. And then we lost that. We lost all
now
of
AI can just fabricate whole stories in milliseconds for you.
I would have loved a camera on you just watching the Google I/O keynote. I would have loved your just facial expressions as if Android 17 probably doesn't even exist apparently. I would have loved just watching your face after announcement after announcement after announcement. Google somehow managed to manufacture 10 different products that are all AI, and I would have loved just to see you melt down because you wanted an emergency episode on Wednesday. I couldn't swing it. I'm old. I have back issues. You wanted an emergency episode, and I could absolutely understand why, because I'm sure you were losing it over some of this stuff.
I was losing it. I could not, I couldn't stay still, like, afterwards. So I've had this really interesting AI week where I told you, for work, I've been doing this Claude Code stuff, building out a tool that I'm actually proud of and I feel like is something that people will benefit from. And it's the first time that I have experienced a use case of AI that I think can scale and make sense to people. And what everybody has been talking about since, last year when agentic coding became more ubiquitous. Like, this is my first stab at building something that I will use. When it started, I tried to vibe code a to-do app, and I wrote make me a to-do app, and it built me a thing, and it was like, I'm never going to use this. This is just waste. It's just digital waste. It'll exist and it'll die. But now I kind of get it. But, parallel to that was Google going on stage a week after what I would consider to be fairly mediocre Android-based announcements and coming out with two major models, Gemini 3.5 Flash, which is a much faster model that purports to be more comprehensive and intelligent than 3.1 Pro, which was only released 6 months ago or 5 months ago, better than GPT 5.5, better than Opus 4.7. These are big claims. And their first world model, or at least their first quasi world model in Gemini Omni, which combines some elements of physics and geometry with multimodal LLM stuff, so it creates better video output, and like all of that's being integrated into a vastly overhauled Gemini app, which is becoming a bit of a destination in and of itself. But then they're talking about all this other stuff. They're talking about completely overhauling search, making search into an AI first product, not just having the box give you an AI overview or let you access AI mode, but actually becoming a version of Gemini Omni, but for the rest of us in a way. And then there's this marketing conference that they have right after I/O, where they basically say the quiet part out loud about how they're going to monetize all of this. And the whole thing just made me it upset me, because as disparate as all of these announcements were, it now feels coherent. The evil stuff feels coherent in a way that it didn't before.
Yeah, no, I buy it, and a couple things to me stood out. This is something we talked about on a previous episode, and you had put the seed in my brain, and now I see every AI thing from this lens, is that it is all going to be funneled into either A, getting your data together to sell, or B, sell you something directly.
Yes.
And boy, there were a lot of tools in there that are going to help you buy things, and things that I never would have, that was never top of brain as far as how I would use AI. And I'm sure a lot of other people are saying, well, I never really thought I'd use AI this way, but they're going to make it happen. The other thing was the search stuff is, to me, really disturbing. I don't like that at all. I think there's a million mistakes going to be made there. I think misinformation is going to be all over the place, because right now it's not very good. So you're telling me you're taking something, the AI summary in the search is not amazing, and you're going to make that the main tool. The links are going away. I don't like that at all. That to me is scary. And then the third thing that bugged me is that Google, it took them 2 years, and I was wondering how it was going to happen. Google finally figured out a way to get people to pay for this stuff. And you're right about the Gemini app. I could put on count on one hand the amount of times that I opened the Gemini app separately. I've used Gemini Live a bunch, and sure, I've used it embedded in other apps and tools. But going to the app this week, now obviously this is my job, so I do it a lot more perhaps than maybe other people would. But this is the first time that's a destination, and then the changes to AI Pro and AI Ultra now for $100 a month, which is just mind-numbing, are really bugging me, because they're getting people to pay for this now in a way that kind of traps you into it, and that really bothers me a lot.
Yeah, I think what's interesting now is Google is no longer the company that shows you ads in exchange for services, right? It's a company that wants you to buy a subscription to its AI products, what used to be called like Google AI Pro or Premium or Ultra, but also Google One and YouTube Premium and et cetera, et cetera. Now, what you're seeing is slowly but surely, as the subscription cost gets more expensive, you're getting a bit more integrated into it. So what was, I think, good about this announcement was you get YouTube Premium Lite in a lot of countries.
Absolutely.
As part of your Pro or Ultimate or Ultra subscription. So if you pay $20 a month up to $250 a month, you get it thrown in. They also added a second Ultra tier, a $100 a month Ultra tier, to better compete with OpenAI. And they lowered the $250 tier to $200, and the $20 tier stays the same. What's, I think, fascinating about this is Google is leaning on the notion that infrastructure is a part of the AI experience. You will need like the idea of like token limits and context windows and stuff that even a year ago when they talked about this during various conferences didn't really make a lot of sense to people. Now it makes sense because I use this stuff a lot and I see it. I see my usage bar filling up when I use Claude Code, and I kind of understand intellectually that I have access to X number of tokens a day and a month, and my context window is X, X kilobytes or gigabytes wide or whatever it is. And if those are filled, it's like forcing you to take a break. It's like downtime.
Or on the flip side of that, I saw a bunch of people online saying that's giving them that anxiety and kind of getting them to upgrade so they don't have that, or they have a bigger buffer there. So you could see it's like, oh, I'm coming up, I'm doing something, I'm kind of in the vibe or whatever, I'm close to something. I'm gonna, all right, whatever, I'll just pay to get more bandwidth so that way I could keep going as opposed to take a break.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So I think the comparison is the more apt comparison is that of free to play games to things like
Candy Crush.
I mean, think about it, right? Like you can grind your way through most free to play games, but if you want to skip ahead, you pay for the privilege. And the tiers that are being set up here, when I started coding stuff on Claude Code, you can use Claude Code for free. Sorry, you can't. You can use Claude 2 Vibe Code for free, but it is so limited that you end up hitting the limit after a couple of questions, and then you have to wait 6 hours or so to refresh. It's untenable. So you pay the $20 a month, and then you're like, oh, this is useful. I mean, this is the story about subscriptions ad infinitum. Like I'm not telling you anything new. It's just that this behavior is, I think, becoming more understandable. And this is a company, Google is a company, unlike OpenAI and Anthropic, that doesn't need the subscription money. But what it's doing is it's building up a buffer, a moat, so that if there are a couple of fallow years where the ad business declines because the 10 blue links sending you to a bunch of sponsored posts are not getting the same uptake as they used to, and they haven't made ads within their AI results as profitable yet, which they will end up making as profitable, if not more so, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they have this additional revenue stream now, like Apple has built up with its services business, that feels a bit more stable. And this is a company that is one of the most financially stable in the world, right? That ad business has been growing consistently for 20 years. But they saw the ChatGPT charging $20 a month was like a blessing in disguise for them, because now they can get away with doing the same thing as well.
It just annoys me that they got there, because a couple years ago, when you see Circle Search and some of these things on phones, like, I'm never paying for that. That's not something that I'm going to pay for. But it just annoys me that they, bit by bit, built this ecosystem within your devices and how you'd use them that kind of slowly got you to the point where, okay, now we've got you in a mental spot where you're going to pay for this. And we're absolutely there. I don't think there's any question about that. If you need any question about that, Google I/O certainly put that to rest. But it just annoys me that they got there at all to make it to where you can probably legitimately justify ponying up for stuff that a couple years ago I thought would have been nonsense to pay for.
Yeah. I think what's interesting here is, so when we talk about ads, you get this free product, and we've been taught that if you get something for free, you're the product, right? They use your data to better target you with ads. And Google has this, I mean, Apple now as well, right? There are ads in Maps, and people are upset about that. There are ads in the App Store. I'm sure there will become, Siri will add ads down the road. But Apple has always been in favor, philosophically, of paid services that maintain your privacy. Google, not so much, and will say out loud that your anonymized data is used to better to improve these products, and as a result, you get these products for free. Now it's not so clear.
Did you get a whole host of asking for permissions? because when I went on my Pixel after these announcements and went to go use Gemini again, I had a whole host of things that we want to integrate with this app, this app, this app, this app, and we need your permission. Some other people didn't get it. I got it. Whereas, like, we want your emails, your calendar, your content, blah, 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 and all the way down the line.
Yeah.
Because for daily brief and some other things. And you just kind of do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's for personal intelligence. Like, that's you gave it access to your email because it wants to make your Gemini answers more tailored to you. So, it'll say, like, I don't know, I'm looking for new shoes, and they'll be like, is it for your daughter's birthday party on Saturday? Because I saw it in your calendar. And it's like, okay, that's not helpful, but I kind of understand what you're getting at. So, but I think what's interesting here is how will the fact that a larger number of Google users are paying a subscription every month for Gemini impact the way that search ads are handled? Because if, I'm paying right now for a bunch of Google services, but I never think of it as impacting my search experience, right? I see sponsored posts in my search. I take it for granted, but separately, I pay for YouTube Premium, and I take for granted that my $12 a month or whatever I pay eliminates every ad, right? It eliminates all the ads, and I don't ever see an ad on YouTube, and that's what I pay for. But the distinction between the two is, like, very, very unclear at the moment. I can't tell if my $20 a month in Gemini, as search becomes more artificial intelligence, is that going to is the fact that I'm giving them money going to, like, lessen the number of ads that I see? Is it going to change the style or the type of ads that I see? Is it what will happen if you don't pay Google anything? Are you going to see more ads in your search results? Like, I don't know. Is that it may not matter, but, like, in terms of the way that Google is marketing AI mode and AI overviews and Gemini to advertisers, I think that's an important question to ask.
Sure. Well, the thing you sent was the auction model is going to change, right? Is that it? It's going to be a token now based auction model where if your AI result, it's going to charge you X amount to be sent towards the front. I'll give you the answer to that other question right now. I'm going to be 99.9% positive it's going to be no. Google doesn't care about your $20. They're going to serve you as many ads as possible, even if you don't think it's that way. I mean, the daily brief, which I used a couple days now, today's daily brief at the bottom told me, would you like to keep up to date on the latest Gemini intelligence enhancements or something like that? It was basically an advertisement for its own stuff. So it snuck that in as a task. It's like, oh, keep up to date on the whatever because you were interested in whatever. No, I was interested because I signed up. So you saw an email in my inbox about the whatever. So you thought that was it's just, I wish that the back end service to us, we've always made this kind of trade-off. Privacy, by and large, is gone, right? You're not getting your privacy back on the internet. The last scraps of it are going to be scraped away by this AI stuff. Okay, fine. But the trade-off was always, I'm going to give up some of my privacy, but in return, I'm going to get something that at least has some sort of value to it. Google's taking all this data. It's going to sell it. It's going to find better ways to funnel more targeted products to your inbox and to you and all this stuff. But the other products around it, like Daily Brief, like some of these other things, just aren't there to give me the kind of trade-off where I feel comfortable making. Now, maybe it's stuff like you said, like the coding and making a lot of this video stuff more accessible. Maybe that's the trade that people are making. But as far as just changing my user experience with Google services, I don't feel like I'm getting back equal value to the last bits of privacy that I'm giving up.
No, I agree with you there. And I think with the way that they're describing how ads might be integrated into AI-powered search, I think it's even more of an important question, because are they going to use your, right now, like, advertisers can cookie you, and that's how they get they follow you across the internet. But it never feels like the sponsored results that I'm getting on Google are like reading my emails before they show me what products that they are trying to sell me. I mean, I'm sure that there's some personal impact to those search results, but like it's largely your advertiser is buying a keyword or a set of keywords or a set of keywords plus demographics plus location plus whatever. And the way that Google research is describing two kinds of approaches to AI ads is it's brilliant and evil at the same time. So the one is called a token auction. And I'll just read this blog post from a guy named Matthias Ott, who is summarizing this for us. He's saying, in this model, advertisers don't buy ad slots on a page. Instead, they bid token by token on the actual text the model generates. Each advertiser brings their own LLM, and an auction mechanism decides whose model gets to influence the next word. The output is a weighted blend of competing interests shaped by who's willing to pay more. So obviously with an LLM, it's basically word generation. So when you have individual LLMs with their own biases and their own, reasons for existing, in this case, selling a particular product, influencing the weighting of each word, you're basically building custom ads in real time based on these, on like the auction results. And we've heard for years that AI will create new apps for us in real time, new graphs and experiences and search results for us in real time. And that's what Google is talking about with its evolution of the search experience. But as a result, you're also going to get real-time personalized ads built for you based on these new tokenization models. And the second one, which I find even crazier, is called prominence allocation. So here, when a user submits a query with commercial intent, the system runs an auction that doesn't just decide which ads appear, but how prominently the LLM writes about each one. The auction outputs a prominence score for each advertiser, essentially telling the model, give this product 35 words, that one 20, and this one 0. The ad isn't next to the answer. The ad is the answer. Or rather, it shapes how much space and enthusiasm each product gets within the answer. So you're seeing, as a sort of a user of Google search, the result of this internal fight, essentially, between all of these advertisers, given how limited the space is in the results, right? Because you're no longer dealing with 10 blue links. You're dealing with, and like the enshittification of Google search is very clear. If you go to a Google search today and you bypass the AI overview, it's a terrible experience. It's not great. How long does it take you to get down the page before you see organic results today? So I don't know. This feels...
Well, yeah, that's very scary because a lot of different reasons. Because enough tokens and basically you can control someone's reality. You can control a user's reality if you bid enough. If the auction system, you have enough tokens and you want your product towards the top. And the difference is I used to manage SEO and AdWords accounts for companies. Yeah. And the granular control was really amazing. You could go into income levels, you could go into demographics, you could go to different areas. I used to come up with these complex maps for different products, and then you'd be putting in negative keywords, and you'd be making sure that your stuff was. But the difference was they were all very clearly ads. Okay, anybody, for the most part, could look at their search result and see that it was an ad at the top that they were seeing. Now that's going to go away. And there's going to be so many casual users and so many whatever that basically you're paying for authority. These things are going to come across as authoritative sources that are selling you things. And it's not going to look like an ad. And you're not going to know the difference. And you're going to see someone who just simply paid more for their product have a more enthusiastic response at the top. It has nothing to do with a human using it, nothing to do with any actual reviews, and nothing to do with whether the product is the best for you or not. It's just whether someone had enough money to pay to put it in your face.
I mean, that's true today of a lot of online auctions.
But it just looks different. Right.
It does. And what I keep going back to is the examples that Google's made in these white papers. They show these inline ads, right? You search for, they give you example of like you're searching for a an app or a service that will teach you a second language, and they show you a couple of organic results, and then Duolingo is the sponsored result that's sort of highlighted in a different color in the third position. And okay, like fair enough, that makes sense, but it's similar to how Amazon shows its search results, because Google at least doesn't interrupt its 10 blue links right now with a bunch of sponsors. You get ads at the top, you get ads at the bottom, but you can take for granted that the stuff in the middle is organic, and that's no longer going to be the case. And I worry, similar to how Google's getting away with hiding sources that they're using for the AI overviews themselves, and Google will argue that it's making it very clear for the user where the sources are, and it makes it easy to click on those sources. But the reality is that's just not true. People are not clicking through to the sources, and they're believing what they're reading. So my concern is that the disclosure, while it will still be there, will not be prominent enough that the lay user will understand what is organic and what is an ad. Because an LLM can write things any way you want. It can read your mind, basically, and create an ad for you that is targeted directly to you. And without that clear disclosure, I think a lot of people are going to fall for products that they shouldn't be buying. And then separately, I'm sure you saw the UCP stuff, the Universal Commerce Protocol that Google is talking about, where they're basically going to be the payment processor through AI for all of these third parties. So if Walmart wants to sell you a product through an AI search result, they can do so, and Google will take a cut because it will use UCP as the conduit to go and make a payment through Walmart's website. So it feels like rather than being disrupted, Google's just entrenching its power even more, and there's nothing we can do about it because the lawsuit that will inevitably call them a monopoly about AI will take another decade, and that will have no lasting consequences. And they'll argue that there's new competition because OpenAI and Anthropic and Perplexity and Microsoft and all these others are still
you saw that with the Google cases that they've lost already. It doesn't seem to affect them in the least. The Play Store stuff, they just figure out another way to do it, or they just ignore whatever the court order is until they get in trouble again, and then they just deal with it.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I mean, it's like because a lot of this stuff, I mean, we haven't even talked about agents. Like the whole show was basically agents, and this was like nothing we talked for like 40 minutes so far, and we haven't even spoken about agents, which is the big new thing. The fact that Google wants to search the web for you. It wants to let you, your search results will be bespoke. It will build an agent for your search results. It will build an agent for your development. It will build an agent for your design, for your videos, your everything. And you'll be able to make requests of it and leave it, and it'll come back a few hours later ready to go. And it debuted some of that with the S26 earlier this year, but now it's called Google Spark. It's going to be a platform. It's going to be an app on iOS and Android and the web. It will work with something called Android Halo, where you can see your Spark queue in real time. Like, I don't know. What's your thought on this? Like, do you think you're going to give, some of your autonomy over to the Spark agent?
No, and that's it ties back in a little bit to what you're saying. I mean, that's the scary part to me, is the last part of what we were just talking about, the casual user. You and I know to click onto the source, and even though it's if you have dark mode on, it's a slightly lighter gray compared to the whatever, and very fine print at the end, you could click on it. But if somebody's just sitting there, hey, Gemini, what is the best whatever, sitting in a Best Buy or standing in a Best Buy or an AT&T store or something like that, they're not bothering to do that. And this, to me, is all getting and funneling in the casual user, those people who want their AI to start doing things for them. Yes, like ordering the pizza or whatever it is, have all these agents. There's no way that I'm using that. But I can absolutely see, especially the way it's going to be marketed over the next couple of years, I can absolutely see casual users saying, well, Why not? Like, and in a way, it's be careful what you wish for, because this is the thing that I've been crowing and asking for, because smartphone, the experience and a lot of the tech experience in general has felt a little stagnant. There hasn't been this push from AI just yet to fundamentally change the user experience. Well, Google's like, okay, that's what you wanted? We're going to fundamentally change the user experience, but I don't think you're going to like it very much. But I think there are a lot of people who are casual users who are going to sign on to this stuff and enjoy it and start using Spark and these other things to come up with all these agents that'll do certain things for them, whether it's design or taking care of food orders or all these different things. And I think, to me, that's just that. I mean, you used that term you sent to me, singularity. I think that's when, I mean, I know that's not technically how they use it, but I think as far as humanity is concerned and the cognitive offloading and all those things that we've been talking about the last few weeks, if you have agents, you set up 8 individual agents to take care of different functions in your life, and you're just kind of there, and you're getting this dashboard of things in a queue, and you're watching things happen, and you're just a bystander in your own life. That, to me, I think, is the end.
You know, I listened to this episode of Galaxy Brain, the podcast hosted by Charlie Wartzel on The Atlantic, and he had Chris Hayes, the MSNBC MS Now host, on, and he was talking about how we should feel about AI, just in general, like the vibes. And he said something that I've been feeling but making it difficult to articulate. And I think he said it really succinctly. He said, I want AI for the grunt work. I want it to identify, I want to be able to identify the places in my life where I can eliminate friction by having agents take the grunt work off my plate without actually making it so that I'm thinking less and I'm learning less and I'm being less of a human and I'm doing less of that cognitive surrender. And I think that is really the accurate way of talking about where AI can be useful. Because, like, think about how we were in university, right? How would we study? What were we doing? Everybody learns differently, right? Some people are visual learners, some people are audio learners, oral, AURAL learners. Some people learn by discussion. Some people learn by just remembering, cue cards or whatever. Like, everybody learns differently, but fundamentally, you can't just cram things into your brain and expect to recall them. So I think that's the problem, is that it's a quantity over quality measure here. The AI can do so much, but unless you're able to actually take it in and understand it and feel something about it, then what's the point?
See, that's where you grab it, because it feels like what that vision of AI feels like a Star Trek episode where they go to one of these planets and there's people sitting around and they have these really big brains, but they haven't moved in 20 years because their bodies atrophied over time because they got rid of all the grunt work and stuff like that. I don't like that bit because it feels like we're skipping steps. And I just don't. I think what makes us human is that grunt work of getting there bit by bit by bit, because if you do that, you recognize the value of something. You have a healthy fear of whatever it is that you've created. And I think that if we get to this point where we're just skipping those steps, maybe that's the trajectory of humans. I don't know. But I think that's a little scary to us. It's like if you dropped I've heard this example before, but mostly it's people talking about alien technology. We won't go there. But if you dropped a nuclear reactor in Victorian times, they might try to dissect it and pull it apart, but they wind up killing themselves because they don't know what they're dealing with, and they have no appreciation of how it works, and they have no appreciation of how they got to that advancement. I don't want to get to that point with AI, where we wind up destroying ourselves, or at least becoming a society that I don't want to live in, just because we didn't do it step by step, and we don't appreciate the way that we've got there. And I think that's part of the human experience that we absolutely need to maintain. And if we lose some of that, the grunt work, it's like, okay, you want some of the grunt work gone over time. Sure, if you master a certain thing, then okay, maybe we can offload some of that stuff. But don't skip steps. That's where that part bothers me. It's like, well, the grunt work offload. We're not going to do that. Human nature isn't, well, we'll worry about that. We'll offload the grunt list, but then we'll focus on the higher level thinking. I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're just going to offload the grunt stuff and then just go play Call of Duty all day. Like, I just don't know if we're going to have that same drive that we would otherwise if we earned it each step of the way.
No, I mean, what I wanted to do is like make, do the accounting for me so that you and I can go and talk about Kierkegaard for 8 hours a day. Brain and vats kind of stuff. Like that's what I think we should ultimately strive for. Like Wall-E is, we go we sit on a cruise ship because nothing could ever happen on a cruise ship.
Oh my God.
That's dangerous. Like nothing. I cannot see it.
I don't know. I don't get the appeal. I've never been. I never will go. Even before this other stuff, there's never been these good stories. They either hit these massive waves, and you see the videos of
everybody's
people
super
bobbing all
sick.
over. Yeah, like going all over the place. They're all throwing up. They get some sort of stomach bug, and half the ship gets. I don't get the appeal. I don't. I'm sorry.
I agree with you. I've been on one cruise in my life when I was a teenager, and the main thing that I remember was there was this girl that I really crushed on. I think it was like 15 years old. And I spent the entire time basically following her like a puppy, trying to like get her to, notice me. And not in a creepy way. This was just to be clear.
Nice qualification.
And I was just this like forlorn emo kid who, got sent to the friend zone by this girl who clearly had no interest in me. And like I barely even noticed where we were. I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't even remember where we were. So don't take your teenager on a cruise because they're not going to leave their room unless they're chasing somebody, and then they will just forget about everything except the girl.
Now I need to know. I'm sorry. What was young Daniel's game like? Was it just follow her around until she notices me? I mean, what was like your opener?
No,
what was your style?
My style was like, I'm sensitive and I'll listen to you. So like, tell me about your boyfriend at home or your ex. Like what happened with your past relationships? Let's talk it through. What music do you like? I like this, and I really enjoy reading. Like, what books do you like? Maybe we could talk about I was very much like I want to be your friend first, and then I would like make my move. And funnily enough, that didn't come across very well because eventually they would understand what my ulterior motives were, and they did not appreciate that. So when I learned how to be a direct communicator in my later teens and early 20s, I fared a lot better when I was like, hi, I would like to go out with you. Would you like to go out with me? Let's go. But it took a while. It does take a while. It does. Eventually you end up figuring out what works for you. But I was no Casanova, that's for sure.
I would have thought otherwise.
I had my moments. I mean, let's be clear. I had like spiky dyed blonde hair.
Oh, really?
I had the whole thing.
You were full 98 degrees back then? Is that what you were?
No,
going?
No.
Okay,
not
all right,
quite
all
that.
right. Okay.
I wouldn't say I was like boy band spiked blonde hair. I was like, I was more like darker blonde, like orangey blonde.
The rebel.
And I didn't have like the full spikes because I never had thick enough hair to do full spikes. I had to kind of be careful. I even my hair thinned when I was like 15, so I had to avoid
all the kids back then doing the hydrogen peroxide, right? To get that kind of bleach blonde look at summer camp. They'd be sitting there with tinfoil, putting the hydrogen peroxide in there, trying to get these platinum blonde streaks or whatever, because that's what they saw in whatever music video that was out at the time. I was like, I never looked like a good idea to me. Even at the time,
it hurt.
Just straight. I don't know.
I bleached my hair a couple of times, and it hurt. It really was not comfortable, and it probably wasn't good for my hair health.
No, I don't know if straight hydrogen peroxide. No, probably not good.
The bleach probably not good.
Probably not good. We'll ask AI.
Okay,
it'll be fine.
I could ask it to make me look like whatever I want for my avatar, and then I can live online.
But here's the thing that I was trying to justify over the course of the last week. I'm like, okay, maybe from the other perspective, maybe we're overreacting. Like every generation has its particular challenge. For us, it was the internet in general. Just how do we deal with everybody getting all this information? And it seemed a lot more positive at the time. But it was still a challenge. The generation right before us, social media. How do you handle this? How do you handle this always on 24/7 news cycles and information and misinformation, all the rest of it? Now it seems like this generation's challenge is going to be AI. But when I sit back and think about it, it's like, okay, well, each generation kind of dealt with it in its own way, and we're still here. But I don't know what the solution is for this generation facing this. But so are we overreacting? Is this just going to be another one of those things that they look at 20 years from now? It's like, oh, we had to learn how to deal with this. Or is this more serious than perhaps the ones that we faced? It seemed pretty serious at the time.
I don't know. I can't tell because I'm a technological optimist at heart. I believe in the progress and benefits of technology. And in a lot of ways, I actually think that AI is a pretty helpful and largely like positive addition to the retinue of our technological progress. The problem is that instead of complementing what we've done, it is hastening the replacement of the way that we've done things to the point where I don't think anybody enjoys using it. Just frankly, nobody really likes it. It's there, it's thrust in our faces, but nobody really likes it. That's one problem. The other problem is just like the environmental cost of it all, right? Go back to the Shark Tank Utah data center and like every data center that is announced is basically larger than the one before it. I just don't think this is scalable. It's not feasible. Like at what point do we stop stealing resources to spite, to bite off our hand to spite our feet or whatever the term is. Like it just feels like it's not scalable, and it's only been like 4 years, not even 4 years since this whole thing started.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that. Number one, you're right. There's no way that these data centers that are using hundreds of thousands of gallons of fresh water a day that leaves forever chemicals in the water, so you can't even there's no way that that's sustainable, and that should continue. The other thing I think about, though, sometimes is, people say, well, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And why are they pushing these models so hard? And are we going to look back and think that maybe it wasn't a good idea to do this? But it's the same. I think I like you, I'm the optimist. I hope that it turns out eventually like the space program. Because nothing bugs me more than people saying, like, oh, we wasted all that money going to the moon, and we should have never went to the moon, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, hold on a minute. You're just looking at it from the geopolitical, okay, we beat the Soviets, and we got to spend a bunch of money, and we went to the moon, and it was a big whatever. You lose track of what we actually got from going to the moon. The innovations that we have, that everyday, just people, not just the high-end technology stuff that we benefit from. The MRI stuff, the fuel cells, all these things, battery technology, all these things that were developed. There was a program that they were trying to use to map stars, and it never got to the point where it was good enough to just map the stars specifically with the program that they came up with. But it was good enough to have early detection for breast cancer, because the images that they'd give it were like, oh, okay, this formation, whatever, and it was high definition enough for that. So these things along the way, I'm always just hoping that, okay, maybe 20 years from now we think, well, whatever, but there's those things, those innovations along the way that actually do help people, that there'll be enough of them that make all this nonsense worth it.
Look, I think this is a good place to kind of end because I think one of the weirdest parts of the show of Google I/O was Demis Hassabis coming on at the end and basically saying, we've just announced a bunch of stuff that will make Google more money. And it's a bunch of stuff that might help you plan your vacation or, learn about sharks. But we're about to solve all disease. We're about to use alphamine to cure cancer. We're about to figure out how to, make people thin and fit and beautiful. And then in a couple of years, we're going to hit AGI and the singularity, and everything's going to be amazing, and nobody's going to have any, we're going to cure poverty and cure disease, and everybody's going to be great. And I I cannot square that circle. I cannot get from we are 4 years into what they're considering the biggest technological paradigm shift in history, where essentially all these companies are just fighting over who can show us, who can either like give us canvas to make apps that nobody needs, or show us ads in the most like insidious ways possible, or make it easier for us to buy stuff, or create AI slop. To Demis Hassabis thinks that we're going to cure cancer and reach the singularity in a few years. And I don't know, like they're crazy for this, but also I think a lot of it is like, I didn't see this as being useful at all just a few months ago. You know, the later episodes of the AP podcast that you and I hosted were just like us going through this stuff, being like, this is garbage. This is terrible. Nobody will ever use this. And now we're kind of like, we hate it, but it's kind of good. You know, like at what point do we get to the point where it's like, yeah, this is better than it's not. This is better than it, you know, it offers enough benefits that it outweighs the cons. I see enough of these rationales that it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you know, the only thing keeping me from that is I listened to another podcast, The Rest is Politics, with Roy Stewart and Alistair Campbell. They were two guys in British politics, pretty high up back in the day. And they're doing an AI series. And they had an author on who tracks the guys who are running all these big companies. And I would have more faith in your vision, what you just outlined, or what was outlined at Google I/O, if it weren't for these people running it. Because they have this bizarre thing going on where they all are distrustful of each other and what they're trying to do with AI, but they all think that they're the one that's supposed to come in and be the savior. And the reason why they're all racing is because one has to beat the other one because they're going to weaponize it and all this other stuff. So if it weren't just these guys like Musk, who's distrustful of Altman, who's distrustful of Zuckerberg, who's distrustful of the gentleman who runs Palantir, I forget the name. But if it weren't this set of people, individuals, pushing us forward into this, I might believe that vision a little bit more, but I'm a little bit distrustful of the people taking us there, I think is what I'll say.
Look, I mean, I think both things can be true, right? Both things can be true. Like I'll give you an example. Bill Gates was instrumental in bringing the GUI-based operating system to billions of people and fundamentally changed how we use computers. But he also made Microsoft Windows into a piece of crap along the way. You know, I think he is a good example of somebody who has smelt his own farts for far too long and doesn't realize that they stink. And like,
well, we learned not the most outstanding character either.
And exactly,
in recent years,
this is the thing. Like growing up, the guy was lauded as this philanthropist, this guy who like rises above it all, and just frankly, that's not true. And I mean, the same thing you could say the same thing about Steve Jobs. You can say the same thing about anybody who runs some of these big tech firms. And I think it's even more pervasive in the AI space because of just how much momentum and money has come so quickly to these people. And the problem is like nobody knows what's going to happen because for the first time ever, it's a self-perpetuating system. Like the goal is to get to AGI, and when we get to AGI, we're no longer going to have control over it. So they want to maintain control as long as possible before everything goes haywire. And I don't know. I mean, that makes sense to me. If you're a narcissistic, capitalist, like go for it. But you're ruining our lives in the meantime. So I think you have to separate the business side of AI from the idea that AI itself is actually quite fundamentally useful. And the commoditized, commercialized versions of it will be hit or miss. I think there are a lot of aspects of what Google announced this week that are genuinely useful. And I also think that, universal the UCP, the Universal Commerce Protocol, has the power to completely upend how we buy things online in the worst possible ways. Or Spark has the potential to just be a terrible experience for most people. We'll see. I think it's also clear that Google Search, which is the most successful piece of software of all time, is just not going to be the same in a couple of years, and we're just going to have to live with it.
Yeah, I think that's the sentiment to end on. We're just going to have to live with it, and that probably goes for everything that we've talked about today. We're just going to have to live with it. Hopefully, we're living with it.
Yeah, seriously. All right, well, that's it for the show. Thank you so much, Stephen. I hope your back maintains.
Yeah, don't get old. I'll tell you that. I know it's the name of the podcast, but don't get old. Hydrate, do your exercises, keep limber as a child.
Stay cool when you're old is what you can try to do.
Well, we do that. I mean, come on, that part we got down.
Yeah, we got it. All right. Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us a review, we'd appreciate it. Like our YouTube video as well if you can. Tell us what you think about our theme song, our thumbnails. I don't know if you care.
Last week's was phenomenal.
I would like some feedback. It might be a bit too clickbait, thumbnail-y, but who knows? Maybe you liked it. So until then,
Google could read my emails. We could do clickbait thumbnails.
Bye-bye.